Alison, Rosen. Alison, Rosen is your new best friend. Alison, with her good times never end. Alison, Rosen, doing the wavy pencil dance again. Alison, Alison's your new best friend.
Hey everyone, hi, hello, welcome to another episode of Alison Rosen is your new best friend. I'm very excited to welcome my old pal, Bryan Bishop, aka Bald Bryan, to the show. You know him as the author of Shrinkage, Manhood, Marriage, and the Tumor That Tried to Kill Me, about his battle with a brain tumor. He also co-hosts the film podcast, The Film Vault, and you probably know him. Most of you best know him as the beloved sidekick and sound effects guy from the Adam Carolla Show, a gig he has been, that's how I know him. And he's been doing that for how many years, Bryan?
Oh, the radio show started in 2006, and I took over as that position in early 2006. So there you go, early 2006.
It's a long time. Hello, welcome. It's so nice to have you back. You've been on a few times, but it's been a while. This is the first pandemic appearance on my show you've made.
I think it's the first pandemic appearance I've made in any show aside from one that employs me. So great to see you. And how is the pandemic podcasting experience treating you? Well, I want to know how the pandemic experience is treating you anyway, you know, your real life. But how is the pandemic podcast experience going?
It's I would just give it an okay.
It's serviceable, right?
Yes.
Like it's like, yeah, we can pace this together.
I was very passionate, I would say. It was one of my passions that I would not do remote interviews. I've been pitched people in the past, like really good guests, where they're like, hey, would you be interested in having so-and-so on your podcast? And I would say, yes. And they'd be like, okay, he's in New York. And then I would say, oh, I'm sorry, I only do in person. I just have a thing about really only wanting to do in person. So this has forced me to kind of get over that. And I do still have shows, excuse me, I do still have shows where I am reminded why I don't like it, but I'd say overall it's going like better than I expected when I realized I was going to have to do it this way.
Sure, I understand that. Yeah, obviously over at the Carolla Show, we have a whole network of producers and technical people and a lot of support. But like for the Film Vault, which is pretty DIY, which you've been a guest on, we'd love to have you on again.
Oh, yeah.
When we do in-person guests. We haven't had a guest. You may have been one of our last guests. We haven't had a guest in a long time.
Really? How come?
Well, obviously, you know, the pandemic, number one. But even before that, I don't know. We never so much of a boost from guests, so it was always like, who do we want to talk to? Like,
right.
You know, the Alison Rosens of the world, or even like Dave Damashek, or like people who are, you know, we're friends with or interesting, we can have a rapport with. It was never really about like get a big guest to get like big numbers. It was more just, oh, who's like a person we'd like to talk movies
right.
with. So it was never.
Did you want to go out on a high note after me?
Yeah, I needed to. Yeah, you were the base, the establishing shot, as you were. Then comes the money shot, and then we had.
Wait, that's not how I meant it.
So it never really served us, quote unquote. I mean, in terms of like how most people look at guests, but at the same time, we're also lazy. we probably just never prioritized it, and we realize now, like, oh, we should probably have more guests. So when and if this pandemic comes to an end, but it also affects us because we're doing the shows remotely because, you know, my health situation, Anderson's very conscious about that, and he's like, you know, I don't want to come around, you know, and, you know, for any unnecessary risk, we can make this work on our own, which we have, but it reminds us that it's just a little bit worse. It's just not quite as good.
Yes. Exactly. And it's like, if you are only listening to the remote ones, I think as long as the audio is decent enough, I think that you're like, yeah, everything's okay. But then it's like just turning the color up a little brighter when it's in person.
It's funny. Now, it sounds funny coming from a sound effects guy. Everyone thinks I'm more technical than I am. I don't know what I'm doing over here. I don't know what half these buttons do.
I know that.
I never. Well, you saw behind the curtain. I never cared as a listener about audio quality. Like I've listened to some pretty rough podcasts that in terms of audio quality. But if the conversation was interesting enough or the content was interesting enough, you get over that shit pretty quick. At first, it's a little jarring, but like 20 minutes in, you forget you're even listening to like subpar quality audio.
I know. That's something I have realized as well. I think that I have become a little bit of an audiophile where like I'll listen to something and I'm like, it sounds a tiny bit processed. What's happening? And I don't think and I recognize that I don't think anyone else would care. It's just me. But I notice it, like something sounds slightly unnatural. What is that?
Outside of like a really bad echo or like some phasing that like you're like I just can't listen to this. It's distracting. I'm very forgiving when it comes to audio quality.
I think most listeners are. I think most listeners would rather have a great guest who doesn't sound as good than like a super wonderful sounding, not interesting guest.
Yeah, I agree. So it's not just you, it's everyone.
Thank you for remembering my signature segment.
Do you still do
I still
JMOs?
do that, yeah.
I just thought of one yesterday.
What is it? Do you remember?
Do we do it now or do we do it later?
You know what? I'm going to play the song and I'm going to make you do it now, even though we might also do it later. So hang on just a second.
Sometimes I ponder on something I have thought or done. Is it just me or everyone?
Okay, what's yours?
I don't know if everyone feels the same as me. I maybe suspect a lot of people do, but I was unloading the dishwasher last night. I hate unloading the dishwasher. For some reason, it drives me nuts. I don't want to do it. I will beg Christy to do it or hold off for 5 days until our housekeepers come, once a month or whatever it is. But I enjoy loading the dishwasher, and it's almost the exact same amount of work. There's almost no difference. Like, I'll load the dishwasher after a big dinner or party or whatever, and it's like, I'm enjoying this. Whereas unloading it, which is practically the same amount of effort, for some reason, I can't do it.
I don't think that's just you. It is not me, though. I would prefer to unload than load. Something about, like...
We missed our window, Allison.
I know. Damn it, Christy and Daniel.
Think about the power unloading, loading couple we could have been.
I know. Man, our dishes would be put away so fast.
I know.
What is it you dislike about it, though? Because you're saying
it's almost inexplicable. I don't know what... Because logically, I literally had the thought last night, I'm like, this is no different than like loading the dishwasher. Granted, you usually load a little at a time.
It's not... I don't think it's the same activity going forward and backward, though, because to unload it, you're taking it out of the dishwasher and then you're having to put it in cupboards and like various storage spots. That's to me the difference.
That's 100% true, but in terms of actual effort expended, a lot of the time, most of the time, the dish needs to be at least rinsed because it's got some, big chunks. You have to do some extra effort. It's not just like dish in the dishwasher. It's like, no, this needs to be rinsed or addressed in some way.
You know what? One of my household things that I absolutely hate doing, and my husband... I'm surprised he hasn't left me over this. You know how you're supposed to clean the lint out of the dryer trap?
See, I love doing that.
Oh, you do?
No, I don't love doing it, but I do it every time because I want to keep my dryer from exploding.
Yes, this is what I've heard this before. I do it, I don't know, every now and again. Which curries no favor with my husband.
Is every now and again code for never? Or
no, it's like... I don't know, every like 10 times that I use it. Well, he does it all, but he does it often.
Sure.
So he's picking up my slack. But left to my own devices.
It also dries more efficiently. And it's funny, one of the reasons we do this because Christy, in a previous employment many years ago, worked for Farmers Insurance. And one of their ads that she worked, it was in the J.K. Simmons, dun, 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 dun. There was that whole era when that was really popular. And one of the ads she worked on, I think she visited the set, which is rare because she was a behind-the-scenes person. But it was Dryer Fire was the name of the ad, and it was about how you should clean the lint tray in your dryer because those can catch on. The lint can catch on fire. And they had like a flamethrower. They had like the fire marshal there or something because they were using an open flamethrower on set. You have to have like certain regulations.
Right. Wow, I didn't see that. Had I, perhaps I would be more diligent about cleaning the stupid trap. I just don't like it.
How are you on folding laundry?
I'm more of a so when it comes to socks and underwear, I've realized you could fold or you can just stuff it in the drawer, just smush it down, which is what I do.
I can't do that, but yeah, I understand that it can be done.
It can be done.
Neuroses will not let me do it.
Wait, oh, I see.
My neuroses will not allow me to do that.
Mine do. They prevent me from doing other things, but they totally allow me to do that. And then most of my other clothes, I hang. There's not a lot of stuff that's folded.
Okay.
The kids' clothes, I do fold, though, and I don't really mind that.
I think guys have more folding clothes than girls generally.
I think so.
I would imagine so. But folding laundry, I think, is my number one least favorite. Like a mundane, chore, like worse than unloading the dishwasher. I don't count like floors and shit like that because you wash your floors once every 2 3 month, who knows, whatever it is. It's not as often as folding laundry.
How often are you washing your sheets?
Once every 2 weeks.
That's kind of the schedule that we're on. But
mostly because we've achieved a status in our life now where we can have a housekeeper come twice a month. So we strip the bed. We actually wash the sheets and dry them and everything, and then we just put them back on top of the bed, and they just make it. So really, we're washing the sheets.
So you're still having someone come. Have you had someone come to your house throughout this?
No, we held off for a little while at the height of COVID, and then we've actually not been here almost every time they've come. It's crazy.
Smart.
I just realized that because we've been doing a lot of weekends at Christy's family's place in Balboa Island. Number one, just to get away. It's change the scenery. Otherwise, you're going to drive insane. But really, mostly, I've been so sick over the last. Since June. That's actually when it started, I think, when we brought our housekeeper back. I've been so sick since June, starting this new medication. I just literally, we need the help. Like we go down with Christy's parents, and they end up being sort of de facto babysitters or extra hands on deck for Friday and Saturday and Sunday, because we can manage during the week with school and whatnot. But like come the weekends, we definitely need the extra help.
Yeah. So what's been going on? How are you doing?
It's really none of your business.
Would you rather talk about sheets?
I feel like I've exhausted my thoughts on sheets. I'm okay. I'm tired. I'm really tired. Hi, Tessa. I don't know if she wants to come over here and say hi. Come here. Say hi to my friend Alison. My friend Alison. Come here. She's very nice. How many kids do you have now?
2.
She has 2 little kids.
Hi, Tessa. Oh, she can't hear me. Hi.
Did you say hi?
Oh, my gosh. So cute.
To the Tessa show?
Hi, Tessa. Oh.
You've met Tessa before, right? I mean, granted, she was a baby, probably. Right?
No, I've never met her.
Oh, that's crazy.
She's a woman now. You met Elliot.
Yes, I have, over at your place. I have not met your second child.
Right. That's Owen. And so Elliot's 3.5 and Owen is 1.5. Oh, and Tessa just had her birthday, right?
Just a few days ago, yeah.
Happy birthday, Tessa.
Very exciting. It was a very, very abbreviated birthday party, as you can imagine. But it was actually a Balboa. We invited a few. When I say a few, I think we invited 4 families and their kids from daycare down to Balboa, because on the beach is kind of the perfect place, right? You can it was on the beach, the whole thing. You can just run around and not have to interact, too closely with people. 2 families came, and it was perfect. It was a tiny little social distance birthday party for Tessa.
That's great. So do they don't live down there, right? They just have a house down there, or do they live there now?
No, her parents live in Westwood, in the same house Christy grew up in. And her Christy's dad's parents or grandparents bought the house in Balboa 1979 for whatever house cost back then. Not very much. And they've just kept it. The grandparents passed away a few years ago. But since I've been married to Christy, and now it's just family's house.
So
I was answering your question.
Yes,
and I got
back to your
interrupted by my horrible daughter. I'm feeling okay. All things considered, I'm tired. I'm really tired, especially because as we record this, I am 21 minus 5. I am 16 days into a 21-day cycle, so I have 5 days left on this medication until I get a 10-day break, which is fantastic. I usually feel pretty good, really good actually during those 10 days. But this is towards the end of the cycle, and I'm feeling a lot of fatigue. I'm in a weird place with my diet because the medication causes weight loss, but also causes loss of appetite. So even if I'm trying to like shove food in my face, which I'm trying to do, I don't feel like it, but I do it anyway. But I don't gain weight, even though I'm like, overeating, fat and protein and all that shit. I never drink coffee in the afternoon, but it's a delivery system for like whole cream, like heavy cream. So just more calories, just more, fighting an uphill battle, but you got to do it.
Yeah. Do you have no appetite? Is that what it is?
Yeah, occasionally if I've gone long enough without food, but that's not a good plan, obviously, if you're trying to put on or even just maintain weight.
Right.
So I end up eating a lot when I'm not in the mood, which is a strange place to be because I love food and I love good food and I love Christy's food. And it's, I have to, hand her back a plate half full of food sometimes. Be like, I did my best. That's honestly as much as I can eat.
Mm-hmm. So you had been, I want to just catch people up. But if people want the full story, they should definitely get your book, Shrinkage, Manhood, Marriage, and the Tumor That Tried to Kill Me. When you were when they first discovered the brain tumor, you were given 6 months to live, and then you beat it, and you were doing Avastin for years, right?
Yeah, it's an over. I mean, I appreciate the rosy outlook. Believe me, I do. It's a bit of an oversimplification. I mean, I guess I did sort of I'd certainly beat my expectancy of the initial prognosis. The difference being my tumor is inoperable, so I'll never be rid of it, so to speak. It'll always sort of be there. And for many years, 9-ish years.
It was held at bay for a long time.
Yeah, I successfully waited, how do I want to put this? The initial treatment worked and beat that prognosis. Obviously, I'm still here. This is 2009 that I was given this prognosis. And then for many years, I was on this drug called Avastin, which sort of kept my tumor at bay.
And so what happened that you're now back in treatment?
A series of unfortunate events. Do you know this, Alison? I had a small stroke.
I don't.
Maybe, I think it was May 2018, so let's say 2.5 years ago.
Wow.
I woke up one morning and my, left arm was just incredibly weak, like, could barely move it kind of thing. And I was like, did I sleep on this wrong or what? Well, what happened?
Right.
And long story short, we kind of observed it and we didn't know what happened and blah, blah, blah. And eventually my doctor was like, he had initially mentioned, like, it's possible you had a small stroke. And eventually he's like, yeah, I'm pretty convinced you had a small stroke. Let's take you off the Avastin. That could be contributing to it. It's a blood vessel inhibitor, right? So that could be contributing to it. Just to be safe, let's take you off the Avastin and see how it goes. And then in January, I guess, of this year, 2020, I had an MRI, regularly scheduled MRI, and the doctor he described it kind of as a shadow, just, a consistent MRI. The images are the same month to month, or God willing, even changing in your favor is a good thing. But any change towards the other end is just, sets off those red flags for doctors.
You got them monthly?
It was a time when I was getting them like every 4 or 6 months. That was a few years ago, but yes, bi-monthly, every couple of months. And so, at that point, he's like, I think we should put you back on a round of traditional chemotherapy, Temodar. And I was like, all right, well, I didn't really enjoy my experience on that, but I understand what the situation is. So better safe than sorry. Let's nip it in the bud. And then a few months after I was doing that, once you follow the timeline from January, COVID becomes a thing. We're all locked down. In June, right around Christy's birthday, they had another MRI, and they're like, yeah, there's there's some thickening around your tumor. This could be the beginning of something. So let's take a more aggressive approach and put you on this new medication called Stivarga, which is sort of a newer, updated Avastin. It does essentially the same thing, a little better. And I was like, all right, well, we'll give it a shot. And it's four pills a day. And the side effects are debilitating. They are really rough. Literally from my head to my toes. When I took my first round of Stivarga right after Labor Day, like early June. And I was actually, I got some sun that weekend. I was out in the sun. It was hot in LA. And, a horrible rash broke out of my head. Just a horrible sun exposure rash due to the medication, of course. And then, one of the main side effects is the bottoms of my feet are really painful, like very tender. It's almost like they're not actual blisters, but it feels like they are. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's not blistering.
Right.
The skin is very sensitive and it's very red. But and I treat it every night with like Aquaphor or some sort of like steroid cream. But even still, it's extreme. I'm wearing slippers right now around the house because it's extremely painful. Even the tips of my fingers get painful. So it's literally head to toe side effects.
Sucks.
And, it does suck. And so we went to the doctor for another regularly scheduled MRI. I guess it was the last month. Maybe the month before. No, it was the month before. So 2 months ago. And the net is Dr. Rudnick was like, well, good news. The medication's working. Your latest MRI looks like significantly better, which is huge. I mean, that's a real quick turnaround, which thank goodness, that doesn't always happen. And so we're like, that's great. Here's the problem. The medication is killing me. It's knocking me out. I'm useless around the house, my family. I'm suffering. You can hear that my voice gets raspy. It's almost, that's like the first side effect that comes around when I start a new cycle. My voice will sound great when I'm off for 10 days, but it sounds like this when I'm on the medication.
Your foot modeling career, your scalp modeling career.
It's on hold. I'm not going to say it's over. I'm just going to say it's on hold. And my doctor was like, well, the medication is working, so we have a strong incentive to keep taking it. Let's take you down from 4 pills to 3 and see if that kind of improves things. And it's made a noticeable difference.
Okay.
It's certainly not stopped everything. I still have the side effects. I still have the sore feet, the throat, everything, fatigue. But it's all kind of dulled a little bit, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's an improvement. Hopefully this dosage continues to work. And, my goal, my doctor and I might not see eye to eye, but we have to talk about this, is to be done with this, by the end of the year, which was the initial. He's like, I'm going to put you on 6 months of this. And 6 months would be beginning of December. So that's the goal. That's what I'm aiming towards.
So do you not have to go in for infusions of stuff?
No, they're oral. They're pills. Unlike Avastin, which was an infusion, I would go in for 2, 3.5 hours every couple of weeks or months or whatever it was. This one is an oral pill that I take first thing in the morning. You have to take it on an empty stomach. So I usually take it when I get up to go pee at 6 in the morning. And then you can have breakfast an hour and a half later.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So you have to take 4 and now 3 pills throughout the day. You have to be trying to make yourself eat, but you also have to take them on an empty stomach.
The good news is that I can take all 3 pills at the same time.
That's good.
First thing in the morning. So my diet then becomes more or less, manageable.
Right.
That would be an interesting wrinkle if I had to make them during the day.
Right. So the small stroke you had is the only side effect that your arm became weak? My arm was already weak, so it went from weak to weaker, and thankfully it's gone back to weak. It's improved to weak. I have an overall muscle atrophy right now just because I'm not active, and the medication does that, and also I'm just so tired. It's hard to. I still go to physical therapy twice a week, but it's just hard to really put in the work. You get out of it what you put into it. Again, the goal is to be off the medication by the end of the year and really put on some weight, put on some muscle and stuff starting in January. Right. How are your spirits during all of this? I mean, that's pretty rough.
Yeah, you know me. I'm
dead inside.
Yeah, I'm dead to the world, cold, unfeeling.
Robotic, but
yeah.
arrogant.
But also determined. How dare you, first of all. It's only funny when I say it.
I actually don't think of you as super arrogant. You refer to yourself that way.
I think I refer to myself as smug. There's a little
sorry.
crossover. There's a little crossover there. There's a crossover, but not exactly the same thing. But spirits are okay. It's depressing to not be able to contribute around the house, especially with Tessa and just things. You know what I mean? Like taking the trash out is hard because I have to walk, around the back of the house, and so that's hard on my feet.
Yeah.
So it sucks. I look forward to being able to, be the partner I'd like to be, in this relationship, in this family. And Christy's amazing because she picks up the slack and she's dutiful and, does all the things that need to be done. But that's not fair. You know what I mean? Like, I don't relish the idea of her having to do most things.
Right. I wonder how much that's a gender role thing because and maybe this is just me, but I feel like if I were going through that and I couldn't help out around the house, that would not be something that kept me up at night. Because I'm an asshole.
Interesting. So I don't know. I don't know. I've never asked you this before, but how did it work with? First of all, I hope your mom and your dad are doing okay.
Oh, they are hanging in there. Thank you.
Okay, good. Because I was going to ask. God, it would be really embarrassing if they had one of them had passed away.
How much is Tessa aware of what's going on?
Well, that's a good question. So she is. It's funny because she's. Everyone says their kid's smart, but she's like pretty smart for a just turned 4-year-old. Like she understands that we can't go certain places like school or the park or whatever because of the germs. And, we you have to put it in terms they can understand, of course. So there's a lab in Wuhan, Tessa. And so she has a grasp of what's going on. And then as it pertains to me and my care, that's one of the things that's really important to me is I don't want her to come out of this with like long, lasting impressions of daddy is sick or daddy can't do these things. Although she does understand that, she's a 4-year-old. She wants to climb. She wants to play. She wants to hold my hands and climb up on me, which she does all the time. But at this point, I can't do that. That hurts my hands. I'm not strong enough, frankly. I'll drop her. And so, I say, Tessa, sorry, daddy can't do that right now. I'm not strong enough. She goes, because of your medicine? I'm like, that's right, because of the medicine. That's right. But then I always try and follow up with like some version of like, but when I'm done with this medicine, we're going to do so much climbing. Try and put a little positive spin on it because I do plan on recovering. I do plan on getting stronger and putting on, much needed weight and being able to play with her and stuff. So try and keep it positive, but at the same time, we're not keeping it a secret from her. She understands that daddy's taking medicine. It actually gets mentioned a lot. Like Christy will get up with her at like 6:30 or 7 a.m. She comes in and Mommy, can I have some cereal? And then she wants to either wake me up or she's being loud. And Mommy goes, Tessa, daddy needs to sleep a little more. She goes, because of the medicine? I'm like, that's right, because of the medicine.
Oh.
She's pretty well adjusted. Like she went in for her 4-year-old appointment for the doctor, and they poked her. They give her shots, but we call them pokes. She got 3 different shots on the same day, and she didn't like it, but she wasn't a mess. Like she was like, "Can it be over now?"
Oh, how's Christy doing?
I'm sure she's very stressed. I know she's very stressed.
Yeah.
She got work. Obviously, she's running a huge team at work, and that's an everyday, full-time job that she's doing from home. But on top of that, I guess it's a fortunate situation, silver lining, that I don't need the help that I needed 11 years ago when I was going through chemotherapy and radiation. I couldn't get to the bathroom on my own. I couldn't walk. You know what I mean? Like I needed constant help. These days, the side effects, as shitty as they are mostly limited to fatigue and lack of appetite, the weight loss, the things I described, and I'm able to do most things for myself. Now, I can't do a shitload for like the family, for Tessa, or for God willing, even Christy. But hopefully that day is coming.
Yeah. I remember when you guys both came on my show when the book came out. You both came on my show.
You did?
Do you remember?
Did we both go to your apartment?
No, this was when this was at the studio.
Oh,
and I interviewed both of you. Yes,
right.
And she was telling a story about cleaning up your poop.
That happened twice.
So now
Yeah.
you're able to handle your own poop.
I'm
though.
able to clean up my own poop. Really come a long way.
Wow,
You know,
congratulations.
Yeah, it feels like full circle, but it's really not. It's more of a half circle. Like I'm able to tend to my own mess.
Oh, and now I'm going to ask a question that I hope isn't. Well, we'll just see what happens. How's Charlie?
Oh, Charlie's good.
Okay, good.
He's old. He's slowed down quite a bit. He sleeps even more than he used to. But Charlie is he's a trooper, man. We got him in 2010. He's about a year and a half old, so he's about 11 and a half. Yeah, and that's getting out of that age where dogs his size, tend to expire. But God willing, we'll have they're good. If everything goes well, we'll have another good 4 or 5 years with him. But the cool thing is I don't know how your little fuzzy one is with the boys, but Charlie and Tessa finally reached kind of an equilibrium where at first. So when she first came home from the hospital as a baby, he was interested. He would sniff her. He would sleep near her. The dog thing. And then when she became mobile, crawling and not really in control of her finer motor skills, she would lunge at him. He snapped at her all the time. And it became a thing. We're like, oh gosh, so keep Tessa away from Charlie. And now that she's 4 and she's pretty physically mature, she can control what she's doing. Now they're like best buds. Like Charlie falls asleep on her bed. We just got her a big girl bed.
Oh, you did?
She's pretty psyched. Yeah, twin bed. And Charlie will often fall asleep on the bed with her.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, she takes liberties and messes with him. Like she'll put her loveys, like little blankets on top of Charlie, and she'll dress him up and say, look, he's a wizard or something. And, or Obi-Wan Kenobi, or I don't know, something like that, Yoda. But Charlie tolerates it. He puts up with it. And then, he'll cuddle up next to her at night. So they've reached a good place.
Yeah, Wendy is surprisingly patient with Elliot.
That's
and
also
Owen.
a good breed for kids too. You have the King
a
Charles.
Cavalier. Yeah, they're whenever you see those lists of good family dogs, good dogs that are good with kids, they say Cavaliers. Because they can go up and get near her food bowl, and she just lets them, which I'm always surprised by. She never snaps
Tessa,
or snarls or anything.
Charlie's never been food aggressive. In fact, Tessa now, one of her favorite activities is giving Charlie his food. And she's like she watches us, of course, so she goes, sit, Charlie, sit. I was like, Tessa, you have to give him a chance to sit down. You can't just start yelling, sit over and over again.
Yes. Elliot's like, leave it. Wendy, leave it. But, but that command is sort of unrelated to what Wendy's actually doing. So this decision to get the big girl bed, because we are sort of on the precipice. Right now, Elliot is in a toddler bed, which is the crib, probably what you guys had, the crib mattress and the frame.
Yeah, same size. Yeah, totally.
What made you decide to make the jump? Because I think we might do it.
How old is Elliot now?
3.5.
Yeah, we gave it to Tessa for her 4th birthday, so it ended up being just kind of the right time. Number one, she's tall. That bitch is tall. She's 42 inches or something right now. She's a tall drink of water. She was growing out of the bed. That was kind of, fait accompli right there. But also Christy was kind of getting, I think COVID had something to do with it, being locked down as we are more or less. I think she really wanted to redo her room. So she took great pleasure in finding the bed, ordering the bed. We got a little, not a canopy, but the little hanging lace thing that goes over the bed and lights up. It's not the canopy, a 4-post bed. It hangs from the ceiling on a hook, on a screw hook, and it comes down, cascades down over her bed.
That sounds almost like mosquito netting, but lace. That's so cool.
It's a cute version of mosquito netting. That's a very good way to put it. And Tessa's really into Star Wars right now.
Oh, how fun for you.
Yeah, oh my God, it's awesome. And so we themed it. She has not Star Wars per se, but her sheets have stars on them that glow in the dark.
How cool.
And and the cascading mosquito net, as you call it, it's a good comparison. Lights up, actually you can flick a light that's built into it and it kind of glows.
That sounds so
it's a very outer space kind of room.
Speaking of things that are so cool, I want to tell you guys about Raycon. Lately, listen, it might not be cool and it might not be hip, but I've been listening to a lot of Les Miserables. I don't know why, but that's been what has been appealing to me. And you know the best way for me to listen? It's using a pair of premium wireless earbuds, especially if you can get them at less than half the price of the other guys. That's why I recommend wireless earbuds from Raycon. Their newest model, the Everyday E25 earbuds, are their best ones yet, with 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth. What'd you say?
I'm looking at them right now. I said, look at those.
They're great. Seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, a more compact design, a noise-isolating fit. They're stylish and discreet, no dangling wires or stems. The company was co-founded by Ray J and celebrities like Snoop Dogg, Melissa Etheridge, Alison, Rosen are obsessed with their products. Give them a try. They have a 45-day free return policy, so you can make sure they're the pair of wireless earbuds for you. For a limited time, get 15% off your order at buyraycon.com/bestfriend. That's buyraycon.com/bestfriend for a special 15% discount on Raycon wireless earbuds. Make sure to check it out now while the deal's running. Buyraycon, RAYCON.com/bestfriend. Again, buyraycon.com/bestfriend. Also, if you think you may be depressed or you're feeling overwhelmed or anxious, BetterHelp offers licensed online counselors who are trained to listen and to help. Talk with your counselor in a private online environment at your convenience. BetterHelp counselors have expertise in a broad range of areas, including anxiety, grief, depression, LGBT matters, family conflicts, and more. You just fill out a questionnaire to help assess your specific needs and then get matched with your counselor in under 48 hours. Everything you share is confidential. And if for any reason you're unhappy with your counselor, you can request a new one at any time at no additional charge. I just want to underline that. I think that is so valuable because right now, you know, people might be concerned about starting up virtually with a therapist. What if it's not the right fit? You are not committed. They will get you the right person. BetterHelp is an affordable option, and our listeners get 10% off your first month with the discount code BESTFRIEND. Get started today at BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/bestfriend. Talk to a therapist online and get help. Okay, Bald Bryan, I'm back with you now. I must point out, I've noticed a fly buzzing around your studio, which is your living room. Is it driving you nuts?
No, it's our kitchen. It is driving me nuts. And there are actually, within my line of sight, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 flies. Something is going on. It's probably the heat. I don't know where they're coming from. All of our doors are closed. This is a mystery. I don't know. They're congregating in here, perhaps because it's weird. They're literally on the laptop that I'm looking on. They're not like on food or anything. Like they almost just want to escape. They have like no interest in the food.
Maybe they want to be on the show.
Oh yeah, featuring Bald Bryan and flies.
Yeah. If you guys would like to see the fly, although right now you can't see the flies, this video will be at youtube.com/Alison Rosen. I have been uploading the video to my Monday shows of late. Please go there. Please make sure you're subscribed. I'm basing my self-worth on that subscriber number, so help me not walk into the ocean. Okay, so I have some questions that listeners sent in. I also would understand that you are sitting on a trove of my old drops, which I haven't heard in so long, and I cannot wait to hear some of them.
Nobody has heard them in so long.
I know. There's been I don't know.
Should I just drop them in occasionally, or are there any there on top of your mind? You're like, I would like to hear that one.
No, there's no specific one. I just would like to hear some. I just would like to go down memory lane. Let's just hear a few, and then we'll do some questions, and then let's hear some more.
All right. Let's see what we got here.
I have a very small penis.
All right. I don't know. That might have been off the air.
I go from 0 to horny in 2.5 beers.
Yeah.
I do remember that. That's quite a humble brag.
Eat more pussy.
That's a classic. I think everyone enjoys that.
I love when you finger me in the doorway, lick my tight asshole, blah, blah, blah.
I must have had the voice memo recording going at some point. Some of these.
Unicorn booty.
That's right, unicorn booty. Audio quality was not great back then.
You look like you've been chowing box, man.
Oh, my God. I still tell that story.
What was that story? I don't remember at all.
There was this guy that I had a crush on in school. And I remember he looked at this other guy at lunch who had been eating watermelon, and he said to him that. And then my crush on him kind of went away when we were standing outside the art building, and he hawked a loogie onto a plant, and then it like dangled off the plant. But anyway, I found it. So he was this like
You love the bad boys.
he was this very attractive to my eyes surfer-looking guy. And guess what he does nowadays? Because I looked him up.
I'm guessing you're saying guess what he does because it's nothing related to surfing or being a meathead. Is he like work in politics or government or something?
No. It is something related to all that. He's the CEO of an energy drink company.
Ah, it's on brand.
Isn't that amazing?
Well, let's check in with him real quick.
You look like you've been chowing box, man.
Oh my God, he sounds the same.
Take them teeth out when you sucking my dick, ho.
I think that's actually my favorite.
Oh, I wish I could remember what that was from. I mean, that was a news story where I was quoting someone, but...
No, it was, someone had tweeted some hate at somebody. Or
Yeah.
This should be a ringtone. You should offer that for sale on your website. All right, I think that's... let's do one more.
Well, yes means yes.
A good advice for everyone.
Do you have my my guitar solo?
I should. Let's find it. Oh, yes, here we go. Why do I only have... Oh, whatever. That's you doing Dave Holmes on guitar.
Dave Hill.
Dave Hill.
Yes.
I wonder if I still follow Dave Hill on Twitter. Is he alive? Is he well? Does he tweet?
Yes.
I wonder if the algorithm doesn't pop him up in my timeline.
I have news for you. I actually just had him on my Thursday show, which is when I have the group show. He got banned from Twitter for making...
Really?
Yes.
So that's why I don't see his tweets.
That's why. His account still exists, but he is banned for making like really stupid your mom jokes to Trump supporters who...
Yeah, I do remember that stretch where he was making a lot of your mom jokes.
Yeah, and they banned him for that. And which is such a bummer. He was like he and Chelsea Peretti were some of my favorite people to follow on Twitter. Their tweets crack me up so much. And now he's gone and he's just on Instagram. But he said that his life is actually better and he does not feel that he's missing out on anything not being on Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, how nice for him.
Have you watched The Social Dilemma?
I have. I don't think I liked it as much as most people. Okay, so actually that's funny you mentioned that because I was sitting in this very seat discussing The Social Dilemma with Anderson on the Film Vault no more than 22 hours ago on our episode that comes out this week. Mm-hmm. By the time your audience hears this, maybe it's already out, so check out the Film Vault.
It will, I believe, already be out.
Top five fictional TV shows, like in movies. Like, the movies will have like a TV show that's fake. Good topic. But we talked about The Social Network or The Social Dilemma. While it was a interesting insight into that world and into that sort of phenomena of social media taking over your life, I had multiple problems with it. I hated the reenactments or
the three Vincent Cartisers.
Oh, fuck. I hated the dramatic interpretations with the family and your audience isn't idiots. We
get it.
You just explained to us how social media can ruin your life, and now we're gonna see a pretend movie about how it ruins your life. That was easily 25 minutes of this 87-minute movie.
Yeah, that I didn't hate it as much as it sounds like you did, but that part did feel like a no means no, anti-drug PSA or something.
Overall, it was a good movie. However, I had multiple problems with it.
Yeah.
Overall, it was good, I guess. Interesting insight. Seemed to focus on Facebook a lot, as opposed to the social media phenomena. But overall, I'm glad I saw it. It's just a short watch. It was 88 minutes or something.
Right. It did make me realize not a day has gone by, and I don't know how long, that I haven't engaged with social media. I mean, from the time I get up to the time I go to sleep, and sometimes in the middle of the night, I am looking at it.
Well, it's interesting because that's sort of part and parcel to what we do, quote unquote, if we in fact do anything. But I've instilled, I don't know what the word is, instituted week-long breaks from social media. When I would go to Hawaii or something with Christy in August, we would just put the phones away and no posting. So it is important, I think, to have those built-in breaks, however short or frequent they might be, depending on you. But I'm glad I saw it. It's not a bad movie. It's just problematic.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's get to some of the questions. I solicited these over Patreon. Patreon.com/Alison Rosen is where you go for behind-the-scenes content, videos of the Thursday shows. I do a bonus episode almost every week, 3 to 4 a month. I cannot commit yet to the word weekly, but I mean, that's the direction it's headed. Okay, so Patreon.
I think I'm going to open up a Patreon that's patreon.com/Alison Rosen, but it's Alison with 2 L's, because I just want the residual people who who
like me enough but don't know how I spell my name.
Yeah, exactly. They're in for the idea, but they're not going to look up how to spell your name. That's got to be half a dozen people a month. I mean, that's free money.
Yeah, I mean, with that $30 or so you will get a month. My God. But some of them might be...
Shit adds up, Alison.
I know.
Shit adds up.
That's right. Okay, so we have a little song that we play.
When we ask, they send them in. They're wondering how you have been. So thanks so much for answering these questions from our fans.
All right.
That was fun.
Thank you. Kenneth Kelly says, what's his favorite part of being a dad? How does he feel about the future, facing our children in the future?
Oh, God. Thank you for the question, Kenneth. That's a big question. Favorite part? If we're going micro, my favorite part is Tessa will... So she has a complicated relationship with her dad. Her favorite activity, or not activity, pastime, just thing to do, is to punch me in the stomach as hard as she can. Like, she'll just be passing me, or I'll walk up to her and she'll turn around and just with a full wind up and punch me in the stomach. Wow. Often she misses, and she's very short, so you can do the math on where that fist ends up.
Ow.
But a lot of punches in the stomach. But occasionally she will show some affection towards me, especially if I've been gone for a while and coming home from physical therapy. Mm-hmm. She always... now I'm thinking of other things. She always, every time I do a podcast, she has to. She insists on saying, "I love you, Daddy. Have a good show." If she forgets or doesn't get around to it, she'll pop in the middle of the podcast and go, "I love you, Daddy. Have a good show."
That's so sweet.
It is very sweet, and she. What was it? Oh, she. Every time I go to physical therapy, she calls it. It's modified over the last few months, but she used to call it invisible therapy because there's no physical means. Yeah. Have a good invisible therapy, and now it's have a good physical. It's getting closer to physical, but I think better than that even is occasionally she will, show some affection to me when I come home from physical therapy or when I come home from something, whatever I'm doing, and she'll yell, "Daddy!" and she'll, when I used to pick her up from daycare, she'll yell, "Daddy!" and run across and give me a big hug. She's genuinely excited to see me, so that's pretty cool. That's probably on the macro level or micro level. That's the best. And then I guess on a macro level, you've probably experienced this, is just seeing the kids grow up and gain an understanding of the world. You can see the wheels turning when they're learning certain things. You know what I mean? Tessa went from a baby to a toddler to having an okay understanding of how certain things in the world work. And when you can see them putting things together, we can't do that because of blank.
Germies.
Or, the germies. Or, I can have a little scoop of ice cream if I finish my whatever. Just putting things together is pretty cool. Watching a little person grow up and learn and become a sentient being. I don't know if I can answer the second half of your question, Ken. That's a big. I don't worry too much for Tessa only because I get the sense she's very much like Christy. Thank God. I get the sense that she'll be just fine whatever life throws at her. Short of some horrible catastrophe, but she's resilient and she's strong and she's smart. So I'm just trying not to fuck it up.
Do you, when I look at Elliot, sometimes I'll look at him as this little person and then I'll get a flash of what he looked like as a baby.
Yes.
There's a specific moment when he was in the NICU for 2 days, and I remember looking at him in his little isolate bassinet, whatever the little thing is that they're in the NICU. And
was he premature?
no, I had meconium. Do you know what that is? So
I thought meconium was something. I thought it was like a substance. Is that not
yes.
correct?
So meconium is their first poop. But if they poop in utero, which they do if there's some kind of distress or something.
Interesting.
Yeah. So if they poop in utero, then it's like they can't, if they can inhale it when they come out.
Oh.
And then it can go into their lungs and make them sick. So that didn't happen, but he didn't.
Thank you for that long-winded explanation of something that didn't happen.
Well, but like it
Something
didn't.
gross.
Well, he was covered in it. Like it didn't go into his lungs, but they had to resuscitate him. Like he didn't start breathing on his own. I don't really.
Scary.
I guess because it was in his throat. Yeah, it was super scary.
Or his nose or something?
Yeah, I still don't understand exactly what happened, but like something was blocking his ability to get air. It was.
You have a healthy boy now, so
Yes.
really, ultimately, who cares?
Yes, but it was crazy at the time because like they started, counting down and then doing compressions, and Daniel thought we were losing him, and I was like completely oblivious. I didn't get what they were. I feel like they were distracting me from what was actually happening.
There might have been.
Yeah.
I can see that being a strategy. Christy and I still tell this story because I apparently was not aware of how Tessa was going to look upon delivery because when they pulled out this gray baby, I was like, oh shit. Like I really thought something was wrong. And then they slapped her butt or whatever and she started crying. And I was like, oh, that's normal? Oh, thank Christ. Because I really didn't know what to expect.
Yeah. Elliot was like greenish and not looking good. And I just figured, oh, that's how they look. But he actually was like covered in this meconium.
Okay. So so Tessa was gray and I did not know that's typical.
Right. Well, so anyway, I feel like, I really got to look at him and like take him in the NICU. I didn't get to do it in my arms because they whisked him away right away.
Sure.
It's a whole long thing. But anyway, there was this moment in the NICU where I really saw him and was like this specific expression that I'm seeing, like the thing you're doing with your lips. Like, is that going to be one of your expressions when you're older? Like, is that what you're going to look like? And all the time when I'm looking at him now, I flash back to that particular moment.
That's interesting. I have a similar, but in a way opposite observation, which is I am not constantly, but it's happened a few times where I've either been looking at Tessa or just staring at her. And I swear to God, I can see what she's going to look like as like a teenager and older, like an adult. You know what I mean? Just see that like, oh, okay, yeah, that's exactly what, I see the older person in her coming out, like in her face or her expressions or her movement or whatever.
Right.
And I'm struck with like, I'm like Adam Sandler in Click. You ever see that movie?
I didn't.
Well, it's actually not saying much, but one of the better Adam Sandler comedies. He gets a magic remote control and he can go back and forth, in his life. And at one point he accidentally goes forward like 40 years and like he's old and his daughters are growing up and he realizes how much he's missed. And I had a sense of that when I was looking at Tessa. I'm like, oh my God, I can see you as an adult. That's crazy.
But yeah, I feel like occasionally I've had a little bit of a flash, but where I sort of, it's funny. It's more with Owen, my second, that I can imagine him as older more. Okay. Alan White says, as a head and neck cancer survivor that lost half my face to this, I just want Bryan to know that I think about him all the time. Also, years and years ago, Bryan gave out the life hack of using the phone number 8675309 at grocery stores where you don't have a membership, and that has worked for me literally 100% of the time.
Yes.
Thanks, Bryan.
Oh, this is my happiest moment. Thank you so much, Alan White. Is this the drummer from Oasis? That's a deep pull. No one cares about that. I'm sorry about your face, man. That sounds terrible. I wonder what that means. Like they could have removed like his eye, maybe a part of his jaw, depending on where the cancer was. I know that's kind of common. I
have seen a video where he's talking about it, and I think
this guy?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think half of his face is paralyzed. I don't think that actually half of his face was. I don't think it was removed.
It's like removed. Okay.
I don't think so.
Good luck to you, Alan. Thank you for the email, and I'm so glad that works. It's worked for me every time, but of course I can't guarantee it's going to work everywhere all the time. But apparently, Alan is boosting and promoting this life hack.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try that. And by the way, I'm like, shoot, did I get the details of it wrong? There was some removal, but it's not like
They could have put in a plate or some sort of artificial.
Seth Eisenberg says, what are your thoughts on movies being released in theaters when all the experts say it is the perfect storm to catch COVID? I want to see the new James Bond at home, damn it.
That's an interesting take. Yeah, Alison, this is a very difficult situation for me because, as you know, I host a movie podcast, and I would look foolish by not having opinions on the latest big movies that come out. I've already missed Tenet, like, the big Christopher Nolan movie, but people outside of LA may or may not know, all of our theaters in LA County are closed. They're not even open for business yet. So I do have a plan personally that obviously is not going to work for everyone, but I have a plan on how to see these movies when, in fact, they do become available to watch. I would rather not watch a big spectacle movie like James Bond, for God's sake, in my home, like for the first time. I want to see these movies in their grand splendor on the big screen. But I'm suffering personally and professionally by not being able to see movies in the theater. So I don't think there's a good answer. I mean, I would like to believe that the theaters are doing everything they can to keep us safe wherever they are in the country. When I do go back, I'll probably wear 2 masks. You know what I mean, one on top of the other, just to be extra safe. But you're obviously taking a chance. You have to weigh the chance versus the risk. The reward versus the risk. Yeah.
The constant risk assessment is exhausting. Not exhausting like what you're going through, but exhausting.
That adds another wrinkle, of course, to me being like you're very immunocompromised. But it's the same debate. Like we went through this exact same debate, we being me and Christy, when we decided whether or not to send Tessa to school. Because her school reopened, I guess, beginning of September. And adjust the light here. There we go. I think we're good. So we obviously debated, like, how safe is it safe? Right. How safe is it? Do the benefits outweigh the risk? Like of sending Tessa to school, benefits for her and for us. And at the end of the day, the school took daycare, preschool, took such aggressive safety measures that it really helped put our minds at ease. Like they're doing everything they can, as far as I can tell. So it really helped put our minds at ease and be a lot better with sending her back. And the benefits for her too. Like she was dying to see her friends. She's an only child, and she always will be. So she doesn't have a sibling to play with or whatever. So she was really suffering socially. You know what I mean? Like she was getting cranky and she kept asking about her friends. And so it's been a month and it's been very smooth so far. School's doing great.
Yeah, we're still having this debate.
Every parent is.
I think we are going to send him back, but then I'm scared about it. But then knowing that you are sending Tessa back makes me feel more okay. Like, did your doctors weigh in?
That's a good question. I think they have bigger fish to fry. I think we may have mentioned it to them, and I don't think they had any opposition. If you're comfortable with the measures that your school is taking, like we can't even go on campus at Tessa's school. Like we drop Tessa off at the gate, they check her in, they take her temperature, they ask us all the questions, if you've been exposed to blah, blah, blah. And then a teacher comes, takes her to her classroom. So no, we're not even allowed on campus. So they're taking pretty strict measures, which really puts our minds at ease, obviously. But it's personal preference. I would never fault you or for saying yes or no.
Right. I do think it would definitely benefit him. I mean,
for the kid, absolutely.
Yeah. Ray Morgan, does he have his old Alison drops? () My fiance Daniel, Becky Honkington.
Let's see, fiance. Here we go.
My fiance Daniel.
Well, yes, I have that one. Do I have Honkington? I should. Hold on, wait. Alison. Let's say Beck. Oh, interesting. That one is not popping up, but let me... hold on, wait. Maybe if I do that. Becky... Oh, I have good news for everyone.
Hi, this is Becky Honkington.
That's funny. Good call.
Okay. Superfan Giovanni wants to know. I was given all of his remaining stuff from the Westwood One Loveline studio, including a floppy disk from 2005 with Bryan's resume on it. Does he want it? Why was he still using floppy disks in 2005?
This is a mystery. Well, first of all, why did I have anything at Westwood One? I worked there 2 hours a night, screening calls at Loveline.
Right.
Although 2005 would have been when I was let go unceremoniously.
I don't know anything about that.
I don't know anything about this either. Or either one. Yeah, Gio, by all means, get it to me, but I don't even know if I can access what's on a floppy disk. Why was my resume on there? Why was a floppy disk there? I am mystified. Gio really is a super fan. He has my personal effects that I did not know existed floating out there from my tenure at Loveline. I don't know why I would have had it. I don't know why I would have had anything at Westwood One. I worked there, like I said, for 2 hours a night. It wasn't like my full-time job. I don't think I had a mailbox or anything.
Now, when he says floppy disk, like an actual floppy one or like one of those diskettes?
I'm sure it's one of the small. Who fucking knows? I'm sure it's. You know what? It's a possibility. Perhaps for some reason, I saved a resume on the computer there, and maybe they put all my files onto a floppy disk. That would have been very Westwood One to be still using floppy disks in 2005. I was not. I had a laptop at that point. I don't know what I would have done with it. Anyway, yeah, Gio, get my shit to me.
Jeremy Katz wants to know. I'm sorry, that this one is too intense and long.
I recently was on the receiving end of an aggressive rectal exam.
You know what? Can you play that again? Because I think I talked over it.
I recently was on the receiving end of an aggressive rectal exam.
Okay.
Wait, what is this? Hold on.
God hates fags.
Oh, yeah, well, that's true. I don't know why you choose to express that on the air, but...
Oh, that was that...
It was the Westboro Baptist Church.
Yeah.
I'm a member, so I know that.
You remember there. And for some reason, Eat More Pussy, that had to do with eat more... That was like Chick-fil-A.
Was that what that was?
I think so. I could be wrong.
I have literally... We should listen to these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 drops saved as Alison pussies. So
let's hear them.
Eat more pussy. Hey, they're coming for our pussy. I used to think pussy was pussy.
I did.
I smelled strange pussy on you. You said that was just because you walked through a crowded room of people who had been eating pussy and it got on you. This is going to make your pussy smell a lot. Pussy.
You want to be with some pussy, you got to go out and get the pussy. It's not coming to me. I got to go get it.
That must have been a different Alison.
That's not me.
All right, well, fair enough. So I have 6 drops from you that are labeled pussy.
I really did think pussy was pussy, pronounced pussy.
I really enjoyed the last one because it's understated.
Pussy. Let's hear it again. Pussy. Oh, let's hear more. This is fun.
You got to tag that at the end of the episode sometime. Like have 10 seconds of dead air.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Oh, wait, no, didn't you have one that was... That's right. I don't know why I forgot about that.
Chubby girls are always down to fuck.
Oh, God.
Oh, it's true. You said it. These are all good. Oh, yeah, good.
Giant turtle cluster.
I don't know what that was from. All right, keep going with the questions.
Okay. Jeremy Katz says, Christy has an interesting job in advertising. Does Bryan ever get used as a sounding board for her ideas? Does he ever have a chance to chime in with his own ideas and opinions? Or do work and home life stay separated?
All right, listen to me. Everyone listen to me very closely. Every good idea Christy's ever had is for me. That's obviously a joke. But yes, quite often I'll give her feedback or insight. Or sometimes it's as simple as when she's preparing a deck, which is like a presentation, PowerPoint presentation. She's like, what's a better word for blank? And I'll just give her a better word or a suggestion. But there have been times when I think the greatest one of my life was when you and I were working together. Christy was working on working for Jaguar Land Rover. And they did a Super Bowl commercial, which is a big deal in the advertising industry. That's about as good as it gets. A lot of prestige, a lot of expectation. You get a lot of attention in the industry, and so they had a great idea. It was a really great concept. It was British villains, right? It was like, why are all the great villains played by Brits? Because Jaguar is a British car, and so they were compiling a list of these great British villains, actors, and who to reach out to, basically. And I was like, you got to reach out to Alan Rickman. He was still alive at the time. You got to reach out to, so-and-so and so-and-so, Anthony Hopkins, all these great British actors who have played villains. And they ended up with Sir Ben Kingsley and Tom Hiddleston, who was doing Thor at the time. And I recommended a sort of obscure one, but very recognizable. I said, you got to go after Mark Strong. Mark Strong's like just that guy that has that face. You're like, yeah, that guy. I know him. He's the bad guy in all the movies. You wouldn't know the name. Most people wouldn't know the name. But, I suggested that. He ended up being in the commercial. So that was one of my finer moments.
Look at you, shaping culture.
Yeah. That's right.
Tastemaker, mogul.
You should look up Mark Strong because you'll recognize him 100%. He's just a recognizable British actor who plays the heavy oftentimes, but the name is just kind of anonymous.
I'm going to do it right now. While I do this, why don't you play a drop? You don't work for me. You don't have to do what I say.
Do you know that I sported a full bush until I was about 23?
I think that was me laughing.
Oh, yeah. I see this guy.
That's just called Alison Peep.
Can I hear that again?
Let's just find that one. Where is Alison Peep? Who knows? Who knows what that was? That was the second drop I got from you in 2014.
Oh, wow. The first one...
January 6th.
I remember the first one.
Oh, like the very first drop?
Yeah, it was Charles Manson.
Oh, my God. Oh, yeah, that was one of the first ones that got... no. Hold on, wait. Let me go Manson.
I agree with Charles Manson.
That was a classic.
I will just sometimes still just sit there and I will remember a drop and I'll start laughing.
That's great. Well, if you ever want to hear it, I'll play it for you over the phone.
The ones that crack me up, Pussy Lips still, Boom.
That's right.
And
these are classics for a reason.
And YOLO, man.
Shaun White.
Do you still play those?
I do. Those are in... Not so much Pussy Lips, although that's a great drop. That actually was one of the hardest times I've laughed, like at a spontaneous thing that was said on the show.
YOLO, man.
Yeah, I still have YOLO, man. I still have.
Boom.
Do you remember what the story behind Pussy Lips was?
Yes. Do you?
Yeah, it was like...
Yeah, it was the most requested
it was
drawing or something
right.
from inmates.
Right. So inmates were allowed to request art of things they like, things they hadn't... It was like set up like things they hadn't seen in a while. And then Adam suggested that might be what they would ask to see.
Wouldn't be surprised. It would totally add up and make sense.
Okay.
So you see Mark Strong. He's very recognizable.
Yes. Amy Freehill says, Bryan, you're great on Adam's show and the Film Vault, but I've totally fallen for your wife, Christy. I really enjoyed her commercial-grade podcast. Will she be doing more episodes? She seems so down-to-earth, caring, and very intelligent. Besides Alison, thank you, I want her to be my new best friend.
This sounds like an insane person, but I'll answer your question anyway. Yes, Christy is amazing and quite lovely. She has expressed many times that she wants to do more episodes of the podcast. Problem is that she's working a lot, especially, during the COVID lockdowns with Tessa being at home. It's just impossible to get people or to get the time to talk to people. But I know that is a stated goal of hers, and yes, she would very much like to do that again. So thanks for listening to that. Yeah, that was she loves doing it, and she described that as one of her happy places, just doing the podcast and talking to people, which I'm sure, Alison, you can identify with.
Yes. It is a nice bit of normalcy in this craziness. Alison Cook says, does Bryan have a favorite Loveline call a la Holocaust with Tom Arnold, Mason Jar, etc.?
Yes, and you'll probably remember this as a fan of the show. I always, for a long time, I would get a question like, people would find out that a screen calls for a Loveline, and they'd be like, what's the craziest call you ever got? And I had an answer, because the craziest call I ever got that I ever personally screened was, and it's a pretty well-known call amongst Loveline fans. Guy called up, and I'm talking to him on the phone. He's like, yeah, I want to know how to meet girls. And I'm like, okay, well, what seems to be the problem? And he goes, oh, I'm just having trouble meeting girls. I'm like, all right, well, why? And he goes, well, I just got out of prison. I'm like, how old are you? And he's like, 19. I'm like, you just went to prison and you just got out and you're 19? He's like, yeah. I'm like, what did you do? What happened? And he goes, well, I broke into a mausoleum and took the head off of a corpse. Like, all right, hold on. And so I put him on hold, and I simply put on the screen. Now, Adam and Drew are Drew especially, because Adam didn't read very well back in the day, but Drew was very particular about the types of calls they took. Mm-hmm. He liked interesting or specific or whatever on the screen. But I deliberately decided to put let's call him Daniel. Daniel, 19, from wherever he's from, and I put wants advice on how to meet girls, which is not a great Loveline call, and Drew would have given that the thumbs down. But during the break, I'm like, Drew, trust me on this one. If you trust me as a phone screener, just take the call and see where it goes. And I was like, all right. So they took the call, and sure enough, the guy had, he had some problems. He broke into a mausoleum, took the head off of a corpse, put it in his fish tank, and convinced his brother that it was his grandma and his dead grandma. And the brother ratted him out, and he went to prison.
Well, I do hope he's found love.
I wonder if he still has trouble meeting girls.
No.
He's got a lot to talk about.
Did you enjoy screening?
I did. It got tedious at times, because you're listening to a lot of the same problems, and that was hard, because they got so many calls about I'm 16 and I'm cutting on myself, or a lot of medication stuff. And Drew obviously wanted to keep the show interesting and keep it not light, but keep it varied and all over the place. And so having to tell people like, sorry, they can't do that call tonight, or try us back some other time. We just took a call about cutting or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. That was hard. I don't know these people, but I felt for them. They obviously have a problem that in their life that they've received to be big enough to call a radio show. So it got tedious and it got tough, but overall it was fun. It was cool to meet the bands and the actors and whoever came in. That was fun. How old was I? 25 maybe when I was doing the job. I was impressionable, and it was cool to be around the show. The show was fun, and celebrities, and you got to see. The cool thing was getting to see celebrities very much relaxed, because it's 10 to midnight. Mm-hmm. It's radio. It's a little bit anonymous, you know what I mean? So you can kind of kick back a little bit, and you got some pretty cool moments out of that. You got to see people relaxed a little bit.
Who were some jerks?
I'm so glad I don't remember the jerks. This is so petty, but I remember and it's bad to talk ill of the dead, but he was a jerk. I walked through the front door to come to work at one point, and Lincoln Park was going to be on Loveline, and that's a big fucking deal on K-Rock. Like, that's K-Rock royalty, especially in 2004 or whatever it was.
Right, back when you were using floppy disks.
Yes, exactly, and that's about as big as it got. Like, people were excited to see Lincoln Park or a call-in or whatever. So I walk in the front door, and Chester Bennington, who I believe has passed away.
Yeah, I think so.
He was right there doing like a little stand-up interview for some dude, like talking to camera, right? Like a little home video camera style behind the scenes thing. And I did my best to walk past him without interrupting, or I was very conscious of like not being on camera or just being a fly in the wall, so to speak. And I think I nudged him or bumped him with my backpack, and he stopped what he was doing, looks at me, and gives me, I forget exactly what he said. It was like, "Excuse me." It was one of those kind of things. And I was like, "You're a very popular celebrity on your home turf, basically, a K-Rock sort of event. Like, I'm nobody, and I'm just trying to stay out of your way. And oops, I'm sorry if I brushed you with my backpack." But he made an issue out of it, and it was just like, all right, dude.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm glad he's dead.
Well, he'll be missed. I remember there were people at the Carolla Show, guests, who I felt, and there's really only a couple that I can think of, really turned the green room or the sort of the common areas into their own living room, to the point where I felt like, oh, I'm sorry for interrupting you in this place that I work.
Right.
I feel very unwelcome in
There's something
this place.
Cool about doing radio or podcasting where the guests are generally at ease. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like they're on TV and they're getting worked up to do Leno or whatever, hair and makeup and shit. So I do feel like we have the advantage of catching most guests, when they're relaxed or, on their best behavior. Mm-hmm. So it's really rare that we have guests who are jerks or, unless they're predisposed, I guess.
Right.
But, I can't think of too many.
Do you miss doing the show in the studio?
Yeah. Show's better in the studio for sure. I understand, the main reason I can't go in is for the condition that I'm in, but I do look forward to, the day when we're all back together.
Yeah.
It's just, for the same reason you probably look forward to the day when you have guests, back face to face.
So much so. Although I feel like a lot of podcasters who do shows similar to mine are having people in person at this point. And in fact, I was just on someone's podcast and she asked if I would come and do it in person, but said if I wanted. But I didn't. I decided just for now, I just would rather do it over Zoom. But I don't know. I do know a lot of people who are doing it in person these days. Like Adam is having guests in person, right? Just you.
Jay Moore was in the studio yesterday, yeah.
Right.
But that's an exception. I would say 4 out of 5 guests are remote.
Really? Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I'm just not comfortable with it yet. Although, I don't know. It's probably okay.
I mean, I'm having my co-host Anderson stay at his house. We're going to a bit of an extreme, but
right.
It is what it is.
Right. Bryan, thank you so much for making the time to do this.
Is that all? Are we done?
Well, we don't have to be.
Okay, good.
We don't have to be. We can.
I agree with Charles Manson.
I don't know what Charles Manson has to do with this. It's a bit of a non sequitur there, Alison. That's all I got.
Oh, okay. I was waiting for more. Listen, if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe, tell your friends, download, etc. Listen to Alison Rosen as your new best friend, and also my podcast that I do with Greg Fitzsimmons, our parenting-ish podcast called Childish, and I'm on Patreon, patreon.com/Alison Rosen, and on Patreon you can sign. So it's normally a monthly sign-up thing, but right now, or going forward, you can do an annual membership if you want, which a lot of people are taking advantage of.
Just started out in the film vaults.
Yes, people love it.
People they're basically getting a month and plus free, which is crazy. Are we fucking losing money on this deal?
Probably. Initially, at the beginning, I was doing 2 months free. So it was 12 months for the price of 10. And I just switched it now to 10% off. So it's a little over a month deal. But yeah, people love it. So patreon.com/Alison Rosen. I'm also on Cameo, cameo.com/Alison Rosen. If you like what you're hearing, leave a nice comment. Bryan, tell everyone where they can find you. Plug whatever you'd like to plug.
Alison mentioned the Film Vaults, which she's been a guest on. You can probably find that episode in our archives on iTunes. I don't know if it's still out there, but it's accessible if you look hard enough. You're a great guest, so thank you for being on.
I did it like
Film
3
Vaults.
times, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
That sounds like way more than is deserved.
Right. I know. I like in your head you've downgraded it to 1, but
Yeah.
I'm practically another host of the show.
That's what I would say. The third host of the Film Vault, Alison
Right.
Rosen, everyone.
Yeah, because
of
it
course,
was when I had just started and you guys were doing it like in the Fishbowl studio. The second time I came to wherever, and the third time was in 2015, and I came back to that place, unless it was really only twice. But one time was in the Fishbowl.
Fishbowl being at
The
Westwood One?
No, the Fishbowl being the original Adam Carolla studio with
the
the
orange
sliding
couch?
glass. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, God, I forgot about that. I mean, I forget about it, but it's been so long. Of course, the Adam Carolla Show 5 days a week. I make wacky sounds on there. Such as.
Wow, the wackiness.
I know, so wacky. And then the book Alison mentioned, Shrinkage, is out there. Helpful for if anyone in your life is unfortunately diagnosed with cancer or some sort of major illness. A lot of people have found helpful advice in there, which I never anticipated while writing it, but it's become kind of a bit of a self-help gift, I guess. You know, people don't know what to do for their friends who are diagnosed, so they give them my book, which is an incredible honor. I literally did not anticipate that when writing. I thought it was going to be an interesting, rumination, recollection of my journey, but ends up being helpful to people. So check it out.
Look at that. You inadvertently did something generous.
I know. I'm ashamed.
Thank you again. It was wonderful talking to you.
Yes, good to catch up.
Listeners, thank you for listening. I love you. Goodbye.
Hey, do you know about the Alison Rosen Show? We had a good time, but now we